these things that we have counted on. I'll always be able to just go do this or that. And it's like, no, this year, no, actually not. But what is the one thing that has not changed or wavered and will continue to not change or waver? And that's Jesus.
Thanks for listening to If That Makes Sense, the Family Life original podcast where we talk about what life is really like as a Christian in your 20s-ish thereabouts. I'm Tim.
I'm Mary.
I'm Robbie.
And I'm Lydia.
We have a new friend with us today, Lydia.
It's
Hi,
so
Lydia.
great to be here. I'm honored to be here, and it's super fun.
We're happy to have you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Also,
So official.
but Lydia earns bonus points for being the first person on the show to bring her own decorations for the
I was
topic.
gonna comment.
And she has fuzzy,
They're Christmas pom-poms.
Red and green
Christmas
pom-poms.
pom-poms.
Yeah.
They're really cute.
and
I've been
they
looking at them.
are bedazzling her microphone
They
stand.
are. If ever we forget what we're talking about, oh yeah, Christmas
Oh,
pom-poms.
that's right.
I will say
have red
I
and green
am
pom-poms?
troubled only by the fact that there are 5 red ones and only 4 green ones. That is... Whew.
Well, wait, no, it's offset.
I-
It's
I
red,
was-
green, red,
Right,
green,
but
red,
the number
green,
is not
red,
equal.
green, red.
So I wish there was another green one.
Oh,
That's
well,
my
it's-
struggle.
It's bookended by red, though. It's even that way. Otherwise, you'd start with red and even end with green, and that would feel off to me.
All the
This
perfectionism.
is
All the
what you
OCD.
get when you buy Christmas pom-poms at the dollar store.
Yes.
Yeah.
For
There we
$1.
go. That looks much better.
So what I'm interested, I find senses to be an interesting thing, especially around Christmas time. I think all of us do. But which of your 5 senses carries the most Christmas memory for you?
I'm gonna hop right on it before someone steals mine. That way I look original.
There's 5. There's
Wait.
5 of them, unless you see dead people.
Smell. Smell for sure. Anyone who knows me knows I'm the sniffer. I smell a lot of things.
It's so true. He hasn't been doing it this much because COVID, but usually there's a Robbie nose right over top of your lunch if he thinks it smells good.
What is
Sometimes
that?
to last.
You just brought me a candle the other day.
Oh,
That
yeah.
thing, I've
It
burned it
smells so
halfway
good.
through. It's
They're
so
the
good.
best.
It smells so good. So I would say smell, particularly Christmas tree, because we always got
Oh,
a
yeah.
real Christmas tree, and that whole smell would just fill the house and just And so anytime I'm on a hike or anything, I love to just break off the
the needles.
branches on the needles and just snap them open, just boom, instantly Christmas transported in my mind.
And the great thing about this question is pretty much any one of them, I can be like, oh, yeah, there's a
Yeah.
strong case for that.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble deciding what one because I'm like, there's so many good answers. I don't know.
I was trying to think through, like, if I could do without one. Like, what would it be? Like, if I could just be like, okay, how could I experience Christmas if I didn't have, like, that one? And that was really hard. That
Yeah.
was really hard.
Well, tell
because
us.
I love
dying
them
to
all.
know.
Okay, well, it's funny because the one that I thought that I maybe could possibly do without was smell.
Really?
I know,
Couldn't-
shocker.
I guess I
For
didn't steal
sure
anybody's.
hard. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I think
you
I maybe
I
could
don't
do without
know.
touch because I feel like there's not a lot for me that's
Yeah,
associated
that's
with
true.
feeling
Although
things.
fireplaces.
Yeah.
But some people don't have, some people can't see and
Yes.
can't hear,
That's
so there's
true.
like,
Mhm.
I'm sure that there are different ways that people, compensate for different senses. If you can't see the twinkly lights, I'm sure you would definitely be like, give me all the smells and all the things, and everybody's Christmas experience is so different. But for me, I think I find, like, I just have so many memories, I think, rooted in all of the different senses. It would be for sure hard to just pluck one away.
Yeah.
But yeah, Christmas cookies and eggnog, man, that would be hard to go without. That would be tricky. Do you think it's because we don't have them like the rest of the year? Is it like certain candies like that you can only get at Halloween and you're like, this candy's gross, but I love it because I
It
only eat at
is.
Halloween? I think it's like
is that.
if they sold eggnog all year long,
It'd be terrible.
it'd be like,
It'd be
oh,
weird.
Get
eggnog.
this thick
Yeah.
egg milk out of my face.
Yeah. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, give me all the eggnog.
Yeah. It definitely is an
Okay.
association thing.
But big question, do you split your eggnog with milk or do you drink it straight?
I didn't know there was an option to cut it. by itself.
Sure.
Eggnog sans additives.
Yeah. I grew up with an accountant as a father and 4 siblings. So it was cut. It was half milk, half eggnog. So,
where's the accountant part come in? Is
just budget.
Save.
Save the money.
okay.
Because eggnog is a little expensive.
No, that's true.
So if you're going to buy like a quart of eggnog, it's gotta sustain
last.
6 people.
See
so.
the last budgeting episode as to why that didn't connect with me.
No worries.
Or look forward to our budgeting episode as to why that didn't connect with me.
There you go.
Yeah.
But then when I got married, my husband is like, "You do what with your eggnog? You add milk? What?" And I was like, "Isn't that what everybody does?" And he was like, "No,
all eggnog.
we just drink it like eggnog." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I can get behind that." So I'm good now.
I think my answer would probably be sight. There's a lot of just like the twinkle lights, like you were saying. Growing up, at my parents' house, our living room went all the way up to the roof, so it was like a cathedral ceiling sort of thing, and there was a banister for the upstairs, so like the hallway is open to the living room. My mom would wrap lights and garland around the banister all the way down the stairs, and I just love that so much, and every year I'm like, "Mom, leave it up! Leave it up! Why are you taking it down? No!" Every year. I don't even live there anymore, and it's still do
I
that.
just need to know that it's still there.
Yeah, but then there's other things like not necessarily specifically Christmas, but just like winter, like taking walks in the snow and looking at the stars. Because I grew up in the middle of nowhere, you can see the stars.
Plus,
Yes.
it's a perk.
And just like the light that the stars and the moon reflecting on the snow brings is just like, it's so cool. I love it. So yeah, I have a lot of precious memories associated to sight.
Yeah, I'm definitely usually more along the sound or taste or smells when it comes to like strong memories I have. Christmas though is the one where sight trumps all the other things in terms of visceral emotional connection.
Yeah.
Just like boom, instant transportation to childhood. Specifically, green wired, multicolor, incandescent string lights. They've got to be the green wire.
No,
Yeah.
that
And
LED.
they've got to be the incandescent, no LED string lights. I'm
No,
sorry.
they
I know
burn
they're
your
energy
eyes.
efficient. I know that they're vibrant, but Christmas needs a warm glow. Nothing gives it like the incandescent string lights.
See, I feel like we could have a whole
we could.
discussion on white versus multicolor lights because we didn't ever have the multicolor, and they there's just something in me that I just
same.
I need
Same
just
for
the
me, yeah,
white lights. I don't know why.
I'm a multicolor guy myself because we grew up with them.
Yeah.
We grew up with the smattering of random this grandma ornament from grandma, this ornament from
Yes.
aunt, whoever,
Oh,
and
yes.
this one as I made as a child and has a picture of myself in kindergarten with the scribble scrabbly.
Yep.
My roommate has one that he made in kindergarten. It's this angel he made out of Play-Doh that's just, it's beautifully hideous in the most adorable way.
But they're like old friends.
Yeah.
You like
Yes.
open
Yeah.
them out of the box. You're like, oh, remember this
Yes.
ornament? I haven't seen it in a year. It just there's so
So
much
special.
wonderful memory in your.
And then you have my aunt's tree that was like in her window that's like 10 feet tall, gold ribbon, only gold music notes because she's a music teacher and white lights and it's like, don't touch the tree. It's very, not the kind of tree we had.
I feel like some people have that tree, and then they have like
There's
the
like
tree in the back
two kinds
that's like wonky and all the ornaments and the crazy lights. You got sometimes you just gotta have both. You
There's
gotta
the
have,
mullet approach, business up front.
sophisticated- Yes,
Party in the
back.
Party in the
I hate how overly spiritual this next question sounds. But it's the only way I can think of posing it to you, which is, do you need for yourself to recapture the wonder of the Christmas season? It might sound like, how do I answer that? Like, yes, I do, and therefore I'm not spiritual enough, or no, I don't, and therefore I have it all together. But I guess what I mean by it is I know people on both sides of the spectrum. Some people are like, every year Christmas comes around, they're like, baby Jesus, Christmas trees, eggnog, I love it all, and it's great. And it's like, that's so cool. They're so excited about the whole thing. And Jesus isn't like this thing they have to remember to celebrate along with the rest of what they love. But then I feel like some people who are like me I love this. And then I feel like I have to change gears to be like, oh, and the manger. Yes,
And
that's
the
right.
manger.
But then you've got like Scrooge, and you've got the presents, and you've got all these other things. And yes, the shepherds and the wise men. Okay, right. Remember what it's all about, Tim. Okay. It seems like there's a weird 2-track mentality for me, and I struggle to bring them together.
Mm-hmm.
Other people do an awesome job at it. Where do you fall on that spectrum, if you can see that as a spectrum?
I'm the two-track mentality. I definitely get stuck there, especially with what I do for work, doing productions. Every year we do a Christmas production, which you don't start in December. You start working on it in September. So you're already sort of like singing Christmas songs from September all the way through December. And I've done that for many years. And so that is a lot harder for me because I'm already like really Christmased up by the time December comes, that when like the 25th arrives, it's like, yeah, well, it's just like every other day, the last several months getting ready. And I'm sure there's people out there listening that do whatever, church cantatas or shows, and you realize you have to work on those things sooner than December. Yeah, that's difficult.
And I think things like that are just important, like as a whole, when you look at Christmas, because a lot of it is that intentionality of thinking about, okay, well, why do all these things bring me so much joy? Like, you know, Scrooge and, you know, Christmas trees and all these things, like, obviously those are not directly related to the birth of Jesus. But I feel like the season as a whole isn't, I don't know, for me, there's so much opportunity there to be like, okay, there's all these things going on that bring me joy, and the lights and the eggnog and all the things. But it's like at the core, like, what is the purpose? And just remembering that it's about Jesus. And that's the whole reason why all of these things create this season. And I get it. You could take all of those away and there would still be like the power of Jesus's birth and, you know, the fact that he loved us and came to earth as this tiny, humble baby, you know, no parades and excitement, just like, you know, simple, humble, stable manger. Like, I don't know, to me, there's just something at like the core that like, I know that is why all of this stuff like has a semblance of meaning, is because at the core of what Christmas is, it is about Jesus. And I think it's pretty normal to be like, you have to like refocus, you know, because it can be distracting. There's a lot going on at Christmas time. You know, you're busy and there's, you know, well, maybe not this year, but normally there's, you know, Christmas parties and all the things that, you know, can make December so crazy. But I think just taking the time to be intentional about like focusing on like, why am I so like drawn to the Christmas season? And I think a lot of it is the fact that because there's so much weight in like why we even have Christmas. And it's, you know, it's not just like, oh, a holiday that's like, it's kind of fun and has these like fun memories. It's like, no, there's like a heaviness in like a good way, like a depth maybe is a better word than heaviness. A depth to like just the season itself, and that, you know, the love that God showed to humanity through sending his son as a baby at Christmas so that he could, you know, grow up and live a life and die on the cross and pay the penalty for our sins. Like, that is just an incredible thing. There's so much beauty and depth to the Christmas season. So I think for me anyway, the reason why there's so much, I think, like power to the season is because we're celebrating something so incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think about the Jewish celebrations. Like, they had so many celebrations of the different things that happened. Like, I'm just sort of thinking about that and going, they can do that and not lose the reason why they're doing it. I think that's important to be aware of in this season, just all the fun traditions that we have every year, but remembering as we're doing them why it's so exciting and so special.
And by that, are you referring specifically to like the kind of celebrations that were like commanded in the Old Testament that God was like, hey, you're going to have this week-long thing and do this and okay, gotcha.
Because when I think about, oh yeah, Jesus was born and saved us from our sins, my natural reaction is to be like, oh, so we need to be serious about this. But God told the Israelites to celebrate and to have like week-long parties and things. And I'm just like, oh, okay. That makes me feel a little better.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that perspective a lot. It's like C.S. Lewis a phrase he used was, "There's no use trying to be holier than God," and he used it in a different context. But I think it applies here. It's like, wait, no, we should be somber and serious and reflective instead of joyful and jovial and jubilant. It's like God says, though, to be celebratory and save the best food for this time of year. Not with Christmas specifically, there's no command about that, but referring like you are, Mary, I think very aptly to the Old Testament celebrations, God deliberately made it so, like, okay, this is a law to have the biggest party you can have and get the best food you can. And, like, you have to do this.
Like, have a ton of fun.
Yes, parties are mandatory.
And I think it comes back to what we were saying about laughter. Like anything good, I feel like anything that truly is good has to have some sort of source. And I feel like goodness is from God. And I feel like if we enjoy getting together, being together, laughing, cracking jokes, being funny, eating delicious food, having weird traditions like putting trees in our house. I feel like those things that do bring us joy, I feel like those have to somehow be from him because they're good things. And I feel like good things come from God, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like they're a good
Well,
thing.
And it's not saying that what happened wasn't something that we should be taking seriously, but it's something that, yes, we need to be taking seriously, but also we can be happy about it, you know?
It's worth celebrating. I mean, it's 100% worth celebrating.
Exactly.
So are you telling me that I can resolve my tension that I have had for many years of feeling maybe sometimes guilty, like, oh, but I'm not being spiritual enough with this reflection. So are we coming to the conclusion once and for all, for everyone around the world who are all listening, waiting on our judgment for this?
This is official. Ooh.
That's okay, and we can enjoy those things and resolve that tension and say, my joy in this temporary thing, my joy in this seemingly unspiritual thing, whatever it may be, food, tradition, movie, whatever, my joy in this thing isn't separate from, isn't against my joy in Christ's birth at this time of year. It's part of me celebrating in the freedom God has bought us through this. Yeah.
And I think if you were to take that most important piece out and it wasn't there, then if you just did have your Frosty and your Rudolph and your whatever, I think they wouldn't have meaning.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like, oh, Jesus and Rudolph are equal. Like I understand that. But I feel like if you take the true meaning out, what is left? I mean, if you just watched some of those holiday movies and wasn't, and if that's truly all it was, then it is sort of like, okay, cool, it's just another thing to celebrate for no reason. But when we as believers know that we have that true reason to celebrate, I feel like that is the star on top, and all the other stuff is just the decorations on the tree and the twinkle lights and the cookies and everything else is, we know that Jesus is, the star on top of the tree. He's the most important. He's the reason. And I feel like that's why we then therefore can enjoy all these other things, because we know that it has a deeper meaning than just red and green and lights and cookies and being with family. I feel like those things are special to me because they are associated with the most important thing.
Whatever you do, whether it be in word or in deed, do it all for the glory of God.
That's right.
Scripture has made its first appearance, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't even plan on that. It just happened.
Roll credits.
Roll credits.
Excellent. Very good. Oh, I feel more liberated in this Christmas season already.
I feel like I'm just going to go out and get a tree and make a snowman.
What opportunities do you want to take advantage of this year to celebrate Christmas differently? Because it's different.
Yeah.
Whether we say it or not, it's different. We all know it's different this year.
Well, this one is hard for me twofold because we are on an every other year cycle when your siblings get married.
Oh,
sure.
And so I have 4 sisters. I'm right in the middle of them. 3 of them are married and have their own families, and every other year it's the in-laws, and then it's us. It's just a strange feeling to know, like, oh, my sisters that I grew up with that I'm accustomed to be here for Christmas won't be here. So we'll have the tree and we'll have the lights and we'll have the stuff, but it's not quite the same because my family's not all here, and that's difficult. So this is an off year. My sisters aren't here, but then also they live in states that are further away that if they came, they'd have to quarantine and do this and that. So they wouldn't have been able to come anyway. Mm-hmm. And so it's as this Christmas is approaching, it is difficult for me because in some ways I'm not looking forward to it. I'm like, I just can't wait for next year. Next Christmas is going to be great because next year this will all be over. How long have we been saying that? Who knows?
Air quotes, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah, those are my air quotes. So I keep on. I have this problem where I live in the future. I'm like, but next Christmas we'll all be home and this weirdness will be over and it'll be the real Christmas. But then I have to stop and think, like, I don't know that. I don't know that my sisters will be around. I don't know that I'll be around. Nothing is concrete. And if I just start celebrating Christmas next year, I'm going to miss what this one has to hold. I'm like, yeah, but what does this one have to hold anyway? Like, we're not even probably going to do anything exciting in the church because you can't even do a cantata. And we're probably not going to, and we can't do this and can't see this person and that person and can't. And I'm struggling because this year I'm really focusing on the can'ts. Like, I can't do this. And I know that's the wrong view. So I thought about this question long and hard. And my answer is I don't know what I want to do. But I know I need to switch my mindset somehow because it's already kind of off.
Right.
That's fair. It's just going to be weird and different and awkward. And yeah. For me, Christmas doesn't have to be on the day, like the day that everyone celebrates Christmas, because my dad often, I think there's been like 2 Christmas days that he hasn't worked that I can even recall. We don't usually celebrate it on Christmas, so that makes it less formal, I guess, which I kind of like because then it's just like, yeah, Christmas is more fluid and
there's not all that expectation that one day has to be the perfect one.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But it's just gonna be weird this year.
But who knows?
Well, which of us knows?
There's so much in the world that is not normal, and so I think just to be like, well, I just want Christmas to be normal. Can't Christmas just feel normal and be normal? And it just isn't. I mean, I think just everybody is facing that. Whether it be regulations of, states, traveling, and all the things. And that's hard, especially when so much of your Christmas tradition is based in, like, family and just being with family. I mean, I feel like that often to me is, like, the most beautiful part. Like, the trees are great, the cookies, whatever. But if you can just be with the people that you love,
that's
kind of like the senses, like, those could all go away. Just give me my people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for sure. I think for me this year, I am trying to be really intentional on celebrating Advent, which is something that I've never really done. We did it when we were younger. We had the little Advent wreath and we'd light the candles each Sunday and read scripture. And it's something that I've wanted to do as an adult and just haven't because I think I may have figured it out. It comes back to me not wanting to celebrate Christmas until after Thanksgiving. And so by the time I'm like, now I'm ready. Now it's like, whoa, everything's busy and you're like in this like frantic December, chaos. And so I think just being intentional like now, like I got a devotional that I'm going to be working through and I'm so excited. And I think just for me, because I don't know what December is going to hold and I don't know what Christmas is going to look like, just coming back to what we were talking about earlier, like what is the whole point of why we celebrate Christmas and what is the most important thing? And I think for me, I usually have that moment like Christmas Eve in church, like when all the lights are off and you're holding your little candle and you're singing Silent Night and it's just this beautiful, holy, sacred moment and you're like, this is like the whole, like the flood of love that you feel and just the warmth and everything. It's like, I don't want to wait until Christmas Eve for that. One, because I think I could really grow in my faith and relationship with the Lord if I started earlier. And 2, I don't know if we're going to have a Christmas Eve service. So I don't want to like put it off and be like, once it gets closer, then I'll focus on like the reason for the season. And until then, I'm going to just drink my eggnog and do the things. It's like, I want to be intentional now. I want to be intentional about celebrating and anticipating the arrival of Jesus when he, came to earth and we celebrate his birth at Christmas. So Christmas.
Good.
I'm really excited. Like, more excited than I have been about, like, anything in 2020. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because if the whole world is canceled and I have to stay in my house all of December,
Right.
like, I can still anticipate and learn and grow
Yeah.
through this season. So,
And it's something the church has done through centuries.
yeah.
Christians have carried that in their hearts to prepare their own hearts
Right.
for themselves kind of receiving Jesus,
Mhm.
like receiving him anew in your mind and in your heart on the celebratory day that we call Christmas on the calendar.
Yeah.
But you set aside a season for building, for creating a atmosphere, a posture of anticipation
Yeah.
to receive the Savior into yourself afresh as he came into the world.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think just setting that time aside for like heart change. I mean, you can experience something on the day of and be like, "Woo, it's exciting." But I think for me, if I want it to change how I'm thinking, if I want it to change like my thoughts and my reactions to things, like you gotta sit in it for a while. You can't just be like breeze through Christmas Day and expect, your heart to be changed. For me anyway, like I want to like sit in it and really think about it.
Well, this is interesting as I'm hearing you say these things because I'm thinking, oh, yeah, 2020, meh. But yet I feel like because everything is shaken and turned upside down, like what really is the one thing?
Yeah.
What's the one? Everything has been shaken and turned upside down.
Yeah.
Even the way we do church, like everything. But what's the one thing that is not shaken and turned upside down?
Yeah.
The fact that he came, like I'm like just starting to piece all this together now.
Yeah.
Like maybe this will be a really cool Christmas because maybe it'll be the first time that I'll think about, you know what? It doesn't matter what happens here
Yeah.
because this is just temporary, like that's real.
Yeah.
And just that concept that, okay, so what can I do with that knowledge of Jesus, the knowledge of Jesus and who he is and what he means and what he did and why he did it, and how can I launch that into the world I'm living in? Like, hey, there is someone you can put your hope in. You don't need to put your hope in your job or your retirement plan or your friends or your family or your anything, like you can put your hope in him and he won't ever change.
Yeah. And it gives a whole new meaning to like things that, like the hymn, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. And like you sing that, I mean, we've all sung it, but it's like when you go through something like 2020 and then you're like, oh, really?
Like
actually.
Actually.
Oh, right.
If my hope is not on that, it's because be like, oh, well, but I'll always have my job. I'll always have, this or that, these things that we have counted on. I'll always be able to just go do this or that. And it's like, no, this year, no, actually not. But yeah, exactly what you said. What is the one thing that has not changed or wavered and will continue to not change or waver? And that's Jesus. And I think, whether or not you're sitting at home all alone in your apartment on Christmas because you can't see your family, or whether you're, with your husband or your wife or whoever, like there's, again, like, and I think that's what it all comes back to is like, what is Christmas? Celebrating the fact that Jesus loved you. And that's it. Like you could literally take everything else away and that's enough.
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity to focus in on, like we've all said so far, what really matters. This Easter during lockdown was one of the most significant Easter experiences I've had.
Same.
I don't know what it was about it. I don't know if my heart was just prepared. As we've said, Advent does. I don't know if the lockdown prepared my heart to receive Good Friday and Easter differently than I usually do. But this Easter was just meant way more. It just connected with me in a way that the holiday doesn't usually. And that was with only seeing my family, other than my wife, seeing only my family only through, FaceTime and other digital means. But the holiday, the truth of why we celebrate connected with me in a totally different way this year. And I'm hoping that all the weirdness we're talking about with this year, I'm hoping that as different as this year is, it affords us an opportunity for Christmas to connect afresh with us. So 2020 doesn't let you really peg it down and say it is one way or another. I mean, there are some things we can say for sure about the year, but then there are other things that will continue to surprise because, well, every day is in the Lord's hands. We're so glad you joined us for another episode of If That Makes Sense, the Family Life original podcast where we talk about what life is really like as a Christian in your 20s. If you enjoyed what you heard, we would be so grateful if you'd subscribe or share this podcast where you share things you care about with the people you care about. And also feel free to check out the other Family Life podcasts we've got at fln.org/podcast, like Therese Talk with Family Life Morning's own Therese Main, and 10 Minutes With, interviews by voices you know from Family Life with artists, authors, speakers, and other Christian figures. You can find those and more on your favorite podcast app or at fln.org/podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and we're looking forward to talking with you in the next one.